was to give parents like me an opportunity to voice their issues, because we can't vote for our school board anymore, and to get the attention of people like John Whitmire and like Sheila Jackson Lee, so that they understand what they're about to step into, and that they prioritize it accordingly. So, you know, to be honest with you, I'm just excited to be in the top half. I consider that a win. Less than $5,000, how much did I pay for my votes versus John Whitmire?
Or Lee Kaplan.
That's a good point.
Or Lee Kaplan.
Yeah, or Gilbert Garcia in that regard.
Exactly.
And then I think she outsmarted them in terms of getting on the stage at U of H by accepting small campaigns.
Well, I appreciate that. That was, you know, it was
ingenious.
thanks to KPRC,
Yes.
and to make that kind of opportunity available to somebody like me, because it didn't exist anywhere else. And with that, I was able to leverage that into more earned media opportunities, like Houston Matters, like other programming, Univision, Telemundo. También yo hablo español, entonces es una oportunidad para mí de hablar con otra gente. So I really appreciated. Thank you, and thanks to the station for that chance.
Well, I had, to be honest with you, I had zero to do with it, but on behalf of KPRC.
We know you run the show here. What are you talking about?
It was an opportunity for us. So there are other, you know, the League of Women Voters, we had 4 people together coming in together, and the goal was to try to find, okay, what's the best way to do this? Could you do, you know, money? How do you do it? And so the decision was made, well, you do it by the number of people you have, you know, who are supporting you financially. And so you were just smart enough to say, hey, give me, well, how much did you ask for it? Was it $1 or $5?
$1.
$1, okay.
Donate $1 to debate.
Yeah. And so that's what happened to get on the stage.
alliteration.
So it made an opportunity.
It absolutely did.
So because you were like a one-issue person, quite frankly, correct? I mean, you had to talk about other things as you were running, but that was your main issue.
That's right.
So looking back on what happened and looking at what the city's going to look like going forward, you're not going to be a part of being able to govern. What do you hope that is going to happen with the city, and what do you think some of the biggest challenges are going forward?
Well, you know, I see what's happening in HISD as indicative of what's happening on a much greater scale, and it's going to expand beyond our public education system. It's like the Death Star bill, the ability now for the state to intervene in local politics. And I think we're going to see more and more of this. And so the next mayor of Houston has an obligation to protect our local determination, our ability to self-determine what happens in our city, not what Amarillo thinks, not what Hempstead thinks, but what we believe should be happening in our, I mean, we are the most liberal grouping of people in the state of Texas, and it's been, God, since...
I think Austin would argue with that.
In terms of population, that's not true. We are the largest city, and we have the largest Democratic voting base in the state of Texas. That is fact. And that is why we're a target. And that is why we need to, the next mayor needs to be aware of what going into this, and needs to really work to push back on that, because otherwise we're going to lose our voice.
So you don't necessarily agree with that?
Well, no, in terms of liberal, you're talking numbers, yeah, but I think Austin would say, no, they're much more liberal in their approach to politics than Houston is.
Well, if you define the desire to be able to control my own body, I think we're all equally liberal in that respect. The things that the GOP is drawing the line on, I think Austinites and Houstonians are on the same side of it. Austin gets, look, I grew up in Georgetown, Texas. I know Austin likes to be weird. Houston is plenty weird. Okay, we got a lot of weirdness going on here that we need to protect.
Well, okay, weird is a good thing, I think, in some cases. Let me talk about something here. There were, as you were dealing with as a county judge, there were a number of times when you also were pushing back against some of the things that the state, that was one of your concerns, was it not about?
Yeah, whether you're talking about Medicaid expansion, any number of things. The difference between a county and a city, the county is an arm of the state. I mean, technically, the legislature could eliminate Harris County and combine it with Montgomery.
Yeah.
Now, they're not going to do that. They haven't done that in a long time, but they used to do that fairly regularly. Cities have different home rule charters, and they're a little bit different. But, yeah, when it comes to the state does get to set the policy. It's the way we're structured.
But you were vocal in pushing back on some of that stuff.
Sure, you have to be. You have to represent the local interest and try and figure out how to do it. So
Medicare expansion was excuse me, was a huge one. We were at a press conference with Sheila Jackson Lee, and I thought that your head was going to explode a little bit, but it was the right thing to do, and I appreciated you being
Well,
there.
and you know, Commissioner Raddick was for. I mean, you know, it
Yeah, it
wasn't
made sense.
Because people who said we want lower taxes, the easiest way to lower taxes in Harris County is to take off 25% of the money that you're already spending on health care.
Yeah.
The hospital district, which is why I'm so glad that the proposition passed today.
Yeah,
Or-
absolutely.
It's on its way, certainly. I mean,
Yeah,
clearly, it's so far in advance right now, there's no way that it's not
way.
going
Right.
to win,
Right.
and they're not going to lose, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I think people were concerned, and there again, back to politics. I know when it first came out, there were a lot of people calling around, oh, are you for it? I said, of course I'm for it. I mean, if you support the Texas Medical Center, for example, Memorial Hermann, you've got to be for having another level 1 trauma center somewhere other than in the med center. But they were afraid that it was going to be seen as, is this Harris County Commissioner's Court? And you go, no, this is the hospital district, totally different entity.
Plus, it was going to be, it's serving a group in the community that really is underserved as far as health care is concerned.
Right.
So in the north,
The LBJ.
Eastern LBJ
Well,
Hospital.
it certainly, yeah, the location is better, but LBJ Hospital needed to be rebuilt.
Yes. Yeah.
Needed to, but now, not to get us too much off the track, if you look at places, 1960, northwest, those areas didn't used to have the demographics that they do now in terms of income level and everything else.
Yeah.
We're going to have to start putting facilities out there. So, yeah, I was glad to see the bond election pass.
Annie was talking very passionately about HISD and the role that she thinks and hopes that the city can play. You've been in that mayor seat. I mean, it seems to me that the mayor has very limited abilities to do things to shape whatever happens in HISD. What is your thought about that? I know that's been something that's been talked about on both sides of the conversation as the state was taking over HISD. Does the mayor have any kind of functional role or even potentially that you could play, do you think?
No functional role in the sense that there's no authority there, and there are actually 17 school districts in the city of Houston, and 11 of them actually have school buildings in the city of Houston. So, I mean, HISD is huge, and it's, you know, the 600-pound gorilla, and we need to pay attention to it. But it's not the only school district that is in the city of Houston and is influenced by Houston. And the health of HISD is critical to the health of Houston. I absolutely agree with that. But is there any direct or indirect role that the city of Houston plays? No. I mean, there's
So
just...
can I ask you, what would prevent a mayor from expanding the footprint of Parks and Recreation and taking what they're doing currently with summer camps and expanding it into summer school, or to take the public library system and put those in the NES schools that no longer have libraries?
Okay, that's a completely different conversation than, do you have any role or responsibility for the administration of the schools? I mean, the template for that was when we created the Spark Parks, when Eleanor Tinsley, as a council member, not even the mayor, created the Spark Park program. We do interlocal agreements, MOUs all the time for joint use facilities. So yes, but that's a different conversation. We share baseball fields. We share parks. We've actually put, I believe, city health department nurses in schools that needed nurses. All of those things, but they are done with the consent and permission of the school district, and they're worked out through contract.
Well, with all due
Juvenile
respect,
justice would be something else.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Yeah.
Juvenile justice. Right.
Yeah.
when we have a school district that's been taken over by the state and we can't elect our school board, do the rules of the game not change at all? I understand that hasn't been typically done, but we're in a situation like this where, and I understand
It is a sovereign. I mean, they're sovereign entities.
Sure.
I can't. The county used to. Again, I have great working relationship with great working relationship with the county, but they used to tell me to butt out on like trying to enforce city ordinances within the city limits of Houston on county property, like drainage fees, for example. No, I mean, it's not something you can impose. It's something that you can try to persuade and certainly work with. And yes, fill in the gaps on things like, I think Miles closing down libraries is insane, but it's not something that if the school district said, no, you can't come in, you cannot come in.
Okay, but in a situation where, I guess I understand where the lines have typically been drawn, but in a situation where there are dollars that could benefit students and that we have a stated goal to get kids to a certain reading level and that will trigger the exodus of the state from our school district, could the city not do something to expedite their departure? And in addition to that, with a mayor that was passionate about a subject like this. We saw Mayor Turner, he turned this into a national issue by pointing out that our elementary school libraries were being turned into detention facilities for children K through 5th grade.
I absolutely agree with Mayor Turner about that. He used the bully pulpit, but again, using the bully pulpit and getting cooperative agreements is different than like forcing something on them.
I understand that no, we can't force a new superintendent. The mayor doesn't have that ability, but to understand that there's a platform that big with that much power when so much is at stake now. This isn't, as Camberl knows, I have 3 kids that are all in elementary school, and this isn't theoretical for me. We lost 2 to 3 years of COVID instruction, and now I'm looking at where are we going to go, because what's happening to my kids in real time is unacceptable. And when I say unacceptable, it leads to things like me running with no preparation for mayor of Houston and me pulling my kids out of HISD and leaving the state of Texas because I'm not willing to go in and risk what's coming next.
So I like to say that your passion certainly has been very evident, not only here, but also on the debate stage as well. You bring up good points about what can be done, what maybe should be done. But I like the mayors, some things can't be done at this point, not that they can't change, but it puts everybody in their own specific circumstances, and you've voiced your concern, and hopefully, as you mentioned, hopefully the new mayor may take on some of the passion you have and maybe will help make some changes along the way. We thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you being here.
It's like meeting my heroes. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate this.
Congratulations on being able to be very efficient with your money.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Well, you get involved in the runoff?
Another rice person. Hey. We're going to take a break
Rice
for a
people
minute.
know how to use their money.
Rice people know how to use their money and a lot of different, some others. So give me a loan, rice people. We're going to take a break, come back in a little bit. We're going to see if we have any more numbers. If we don't, we still have a lot to talk about, including another candidate for mayor who's here tonight as well. So we take a break. We'll be back in a bit.
Finish my cookie.
And welcome back to our continuing coverage of this election cycle here, Decision 2023. We've been talking a lot about the numbers that have been coming in, and the numbers have not come in from day of voting. What we do have right now are just the numbers from the early voting at this point. We do have Mario Diaz, though, who is standing by at the headquarters where John Whitmire is at his party looking at results. Mario, what's the status? How's the senator feeling right now with the numbers he's seeing? Looks like they're coming in just the way the polls said they would come in.
Well, Campbell, I can tell you that here at the election night party at the Marriott Marquis, you can just feel the excitement by the crowd. You had State Senator John Whitmire come in a bit earlier once the polls closed just to welcome everybody. Saw him shake the hands. He was really excited. But then as you look behind me here, you can see this is a packed room, a very diverse room with lots of energy, plenty of people excited, lots of people smiling. And I'm going to point to you right over here. This is what I found very interesting. Right there, those two individuals in the suit right there, that's Mayor Turner's detail. That's Mayor Turner's security detail. They provided detail to John Whitmire here at his party this evening that are directly connected to Mayor Turner. Big sign there. You know, at the start of the show in the coverage tonight, you talked about baseball. You heard Mayor Parker say that John Whitmire's on third and there's a lot of other candidates who are just basically at home. And you know, you've had some great music here tonight. You had James Brown talking about I Feel Good. And you've got also Stevie Wonder, Signed, Sealed, Delivered. And I will tell you this, with those numbers coming up, this crowd and Whitmire himself feel as if he's gone way past third base. He is this close to home because of the numbers they saw and what they're expecting. And here's why. They suspected that Kingwood was going to be key for them, and they're liking the numbers that they saw in Kingwood, which is an area they felt was going to be going to Whitmire. What they also liked was the low turnout from the perspective of they thought that hurt Sheila Jackson Lee more than it did them. So you have a lot of interesting analysis here thus far, but again, a very happy crowd. I did catch up with John Whitmire about 3 hours ago when he was in Independence Heights outside of a polling station, and I talked to the state senator, a former House representative, nearly 50 years in Austin, about the possibility of him becoming the next mayor here in Houston. When you got into this race, did you think that you'd have a battle like what you've seen here play out in the last few months?
You know, I've never been concerned about my opposition because I had a clear vision for why I was running. Running for one reason, to make a difference. I was asked by Houstonians to run, and I weighed where could I be most effective, in Austin or in Houston, closer to the problems. And obviously, I want to be closer to the problems in Houston. So I haven't said one bad word about my opponents the entire campaign.
How big of a challenge is that sometimes when you want to come back when everything's being thrown in your direction?
Well, it's frustrating when they misrepresent your views and your record. And I've been hit from the left, I've been hit from the right, but I've stayed.
You're still standing.
I'm still standing, and I'm going to remain standing because I'm focused and I'm doing it for the right reason.
You indicated that Houstonians wanted you to run. You heard this from them. But what did they teach you in the last year that made you take a step back and really appreciate the city from a different vantage point?
We've got to understand I'm a Houstonian. I went to high school here, I went to community college, and then U of H. I've represented Houstonians for 50 years in the legislature. So I know the wonders of our city.
But something like this is a defining moment for anybody, right? When you're running for mayor, even after all of the years of experience you have, what did it teach you from talking to these people?
It just reinforced what I already knew, what a great city we have and what great people we had. And it reinforces that I'm running for the right reason, to fix some of our challenges. Our infrastructure is terrible. Our public safety is a major concern. And with my experience, I know I can make a difference.
I was talking with some people today, final question here, and I asked them, how proud are Houstonians of their city right now? And they indicated to me, not very much. Really? And you see that from city workers too. To that, what do you say?
I said, I understand your frustration. I understand your frustrations, and we're going to address your frustrations. The city is great. People are moving here in large numbers. We have the Med Center, the port, the spaceport, and we have our people. You can be someone in Houston, and we want to maintain that. We welcome people. We have a very diverse city, but we've got to unite the city behind some of our challenges, and that's what I can do.
All right, State Senator John Whitmire talking about uniting this city if he does pull out the victory. It's a long shot, as you know, to do it on the first night of the election because of the fact that you have to get 50.1%. However, the numbers here tonight are, I think, a little bit better than what they were anticipating. Again, they're really looking at Kingwood here, Camrell, because at today's turnout, because they said that that was an area where they saw a heavier turnout and one that they felt was going to be benefiting State Senator John Whitmire, again, who is attempting to become the next mayor of Houston. From the downtown Marriott Marquis, I'm Mario Diaz for KPRC 2 News. Back to you over there in Southwest Houston on 59.
All right, thank you, Mario. Appreciate that. A lot of activity there, a lot of music going on there as well. We're going to change votes, change direction now and go to Devin, Devin Clark, who's at the headquarters where Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is. And so I'm wondering, is it still there? Are they as excited there as they are over at the Whitmire camp, Devin?
Absolutely, Cambrell. I can tell you that within the past few minutes, the ballroom here at Bayou Place has been consistently filling with would-be constituents for Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, who could potentially become the 63rd mayor of Houston. I want to give you a look around the room. You can see dozens of people just pouring in constantly. Her campaign has been hard at work all day. We've been here for hours. They've been working hard to make sure things here are perfect. And you can see the stage set where she's set to take the podium and address the audience. And we see one of her campaign managers here, or her campaign members over here, getting the crowd riled up. To the side of that podium, we see a slideshow with Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee's pictures of her in the community, immersed in the community, speaking to people who live in this area, as well as some city and county leaders who actually, we see Judge Lena Hidalgo, she came in here about 20 minutes ago, and they are all excited. The votes are pouring in, even though right now Senator John Whitmire is showing a marginal lead. We know that there is not much of any doubt in here that Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee could be the next mayor. But of course, only time will tell as those votes continue to be tabulated. But in the meantime, let's take a listen to some of the sentiments that she said leading up to this moment.
We need to be focused on the education of our children. America can be heavily involved in that. And then we must be focused on our infrastructure. And as a representative in the United States Congress, I am best suited to bring those federal dollars here to help us in our infrastructure rebuild. To deal with our water and wastewater, and to deal with the water bills. I think it is important to have a mayor that understands the...
All right, and right now we see, according to our own app, Clip to Houston app, that everyone can download right now to keep tabs on the votes as they pour in. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee has about 37% of the votes to Senator John Whitmire's 43%. Of course, we're going to continue to monitor those numbers and bring you the latest as they become available. But for now, reporting live downtown, Devin Clark, KPRC 2 News.
All right, thank you, Devin, very much. I noticed in the background there, Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo there as well. I know she's a supporter of Congresswoman Jackson Lee, so interesting to see her out there as well. Thank you, Devin. Appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see some day of numbers coming in here soon. I don't know if we will or not, but I know that we do have one of the candidates for mayor here with us tonight. Former City Council member MJ Khan is here. Council member, good to see you.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me with such an esteemed panel. What some of my heroes are sitting around the table.
Yeah, really. You ran. I know that you were hopefully to be able to make a better showing than you are here tonight. Tell me about why. You look back on what happened here. Why did you decide to run, and what are your thoughts about how you showed, and what were you hoping you could get across, even with what you were saying while you were running?
Well, first of all, I never looked at the result because results is not in my hand. Results are with the good Lord. We are only concerned about making a sincere effort and putting the best efforts for whatever we're doing. And I believe that the conversation we have is important for the city. The solutions which I presented, even in the debates, I am hoping that those discussion will continue, and we want all city to move in the right direction. And city has a lot of challenges, budget challenges, crime, pothole, flooding, you name it. And I believe that with the right kind of leadership and focusing on the problem at hand, the city needs to turn around. And I'm hoping, and I wish all the best to Senator Whitmire and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee, who seems to be heading into the runoff. But I hope they pay attention to what the challenges are and turn the city around.
You were not one of those who talked about the city having a surplus. I don't recall you saying that.
No.
You talked about there being some real issues going forward financially that need to be solved. What are your thoughts about what direction they should take?
Well, I mean, look, we have a former mayor sitting here, and she will vouch for it. City's budget is not balanced. We are structurally in the deficit in our budget. We have used ARPA money to balance the budget and give employees raises, which in my opinion was the wrong thing to do. And once that money runs out, how are we going to keep up with all the raises which we gave to the employees and all the other challenges we have? We have less police officers now than when we left the city council in 2009. So how do we manage that? And unless and until we focus on the core services which city has to provide, crime, potholes, flooding, pick up the garbage, those are the areas which cities should be focusing on. Because otherwise we are, people are right. We are facing a, budget, cliff, and we don't want to fall over.
So when you guys together, what were the years when you were?
We overlapped. I
She was
controller
the city controller when I was
Yes,
city
council.
council, and she was one of the finest controller, by the way. Did a wonderful job and kept us in the right direction. Her reports were so helpful to Mayor Bill White and the city council that we did continue to focus on what is needed. And you remember, I believe that was some of the best days of the city of Houston. And of course, when she became mayor, she continued in that direction. Now we have to see whether the new mayor comes in, how we're going to meet the challenges.
Chris Brown has sounded some alarms along the way. He said some things along the way, maybe not as much. You've been in that spot before. So what are your thoughts about how that role has been played up to this point, and could some things have been done to make sure that we're not where we are right now as far as the city is concerned?
So I acknowledged earlier that I use one-time money to do things in the budget. The difference is, it's like Mike Knox talked about, a personal budget. So I'll make it analogous to that. If I really want to do something and I decide, like I have a spare motorcycle in my garage and I want to sell that motorcycle I don't ever get out on and ride anymore because I want to take a really nice vacation, that's a legitimate thing to do. But taking one-time money and using it on a one-time thing. But you can't take one-time money and maybe I go out and take the money from that motorcycle I sold, and then I go buy a new house. And how do I keep making the mortgage payments? That's what we've done. We've given money for a recurring expense that's not going to.
Look, it's Finance 101. Whenever you have to meet your expenses with the regular stream of revenues. That's Finance 101. Anytime you have a windfall, which ARPA money was a windfall, you use it either to reduce your debt or make investments. Right. That's where the benefit would have come from.
Right. But you can't spend more than you take in, but you have a revenue cap. In addition to that, what roles does that play?
The revenue cap is a significant challenge. However, absent our revenue cap, the state would do it to us anyway.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not the be-all and end-all. What is really significant for the city of Houston is that we're the only major city in America, including all of the other cities in Texas, that doesn't have a garbage fee. Yeah. And it's not just the money from a garbage fee, it's what you can do to incent recycling or separation of compost or various things to make collection of trash easier. You can also put money into specialized teams to do enforcement on illegal dumping. So a lot of flexibility you can get from.
But also, our equipment, our garbage pickup equipment is obsolete now. We need to have the latest technology, and that's what one of the challenges we have, that we are not spending or investing money in those areas where it is needed.
You talk about not having a garbage fee. Why don't we? Where does it come from? Who's responsible for putting that into place?
Mayor.
One thing to say.
And then the council, and then mayor and council could do it. The mayor and council could do it. But I guarantee you that there would be a referendum. And so the only effective way to do it is to package it right and put it on the agenda for a vote on one of the ballots. My challenge was, and I hate to remind people of this, but I always raised water rates 30% in my first year in office, and then I went and passed the drainage fee. So there wasn't a whole lot of appetite for another fee. I figured that the drainage fee was important too. I mean, these are all important things, and it is one of the things I have clashed with Turner about is I think he's diverted drainage fee money. I actually supported the engineers in the lawsuit against the city on that.
And the drainage fee, one of the mistakes we made is we put it in there that we cannot use that money to issue public bonds. That's what we should do now. That's what one of the solution I put, that look, you have this $220 million you're spending every year to fix the drainage problem and street repairs. You will never catch up. Never catch up. You have to use that money, issue a new public bond, and get $2.6, $2.7 billion and do a wholesale repair. That's the solution which I presented.
If you want to hear me say I was wrong about something, I mean, it was a good government idea that let's wean the city off of debt. And our debt load did go down in terms of we stopped borrowing money to do these projects, but then money got so cheap that it didn't make sense not to borrow money to do these major infrastructure projects.
Right.
So what part was wrong?
Putting in that we couldn't use it
But I hope the new mayor goes to the voter and make those required changes and issue the bond and fix these. Because, look, county, regardless of what, they have done a reasonable good job of cleaning up the bayous with the help of Corps of Engineers. Our problem, we cannot take the water from our streets to the bayous. And that's where we need to invest money, and that's where we are lacking. So I hope the new mayor, whoever it is, can look into that. And there is a clear solution. Well, I don't want to just take all the credit, but I presented that, and I hope that becomes part of their, discussion when they look into that problem.
Hey, on this table, there's no problem with you taking credit, okay? Take all the credit you want.
No, that's not.
In fact, before MJ leaves, I have to say, whoever the new mayor is, this city has people like MJ Khan that have been there. They bring a lot to the table. The new mayor needs to find a way to bring folks like MJ into the process and tap that experience. And I think it's very useful. And reach out to some of these people who ran for mayor and didn't get, much of a vote, but they have something to bring to the table. Bring them in with you.
We haven't talked about what the effort is going to be with the front runners to bring in the unsuccessful candidates and whether they ask them to endorse the runoff.
Look, it's not the unsuccessful candidates who are there. We have tremendous talent in this city. Yep. We have tremendous amount of talent in the private sector especially. And you need to reach out to them and find out some of the solution to these problems. I mean, for my campaign, I hope that I remember back in the days when you were not even in the city council, the challenges which you all face, right? So I hope that my candidacy is inspiring people that the South Asian community, the Muslim community has a potential to be at the table. And I think that once we have that, I think the community will be better off, city will be better off. And I think this diversity needs to be, not just appreciated by lip service, but in practical manner. Bring all these people, and I hope that somebody else from the community runs for city council or mayor or whatever.
I saw you on the campaign trail, as you know, and you had good ideas, and your experience showed. But you just touched on something. Those 17 candidates in the field for mayor really reflect the diversity of the city of Houston, and the fact that we have a Muslim council member or South Asian council member who becomes a credible candidate for mayor and made the debate stages speaks well for the city of Houston, as the other diversity that was represented in the field.
Yes, and I think that's the strength we have. And look, city of Houston, I'm telling you, this greater Houston is unique in that, because our diversity is something we celebrate, we enjoy. You don't see the tension among the communities here in Houston like you see some other places. Even around the world, the tension, you see, I tell people, hey, look at Houston, how we are managing our diversity and enjoying each other and living in peace and harmony. And the credit goes to the leadership of all these various communities who are really working hard to, bring this harmony. And that's what we can, be the showcase for the rest of the country, rest of the world.
Judge Emmett mentioned that the candidates who are maybe going to take office would be wise to ask people like you to be involved in government. Would you consider something like that?
Well, like I said, I think there's tremendous talent in this community, not just people who ran, but they're out there in the private sector. I just hope that whoever is the mayor does not just rely on themselves. One person doesn't have the answer. That they reach out to the people in the community, especially in the private sector, and get those people around. So not necessarily me or the candidates, but I think there is a tremendous amount of talent we have. It should be explored.
Or not just think tanks from out of town either.
Oh yes, yeah, that too. That is something we have enough of our own. We can take care of our problem. But the problems are really serious problems. Okay, and it's not statistics aside. You talk to anybody and they say crime is a problem. I'm worried about my safety. Whether the statistics do conform to that or not. Same thing with the flooding. Same thing with employment. We have really challenges in terms of attracting businesses. Texas is attracting all the people from the world. I mean, just yesterday or day before, there was a report, Texas is the #1 state in attracting new businesses. Why are they not coming to Houston? That's something we need to ponder upon. And what is it we are lacking, why these businesses are not choosing Houston? We have the best, talent, we have the best education, we have the best community, we have the, everything is in place. Just, I think the city government, if they become business friendly, I think it will change that statistic also.
I saw your eyes.
Well, yeah, and I've given every mayor this same sort of jab a little bit. Businesses come to the Houston area. They don't necessarily come to the city of Houston. Look at ExxonMobil, their North American headquarters. It's not in the city of Houston, it's in unincorporated Harris County, which makes it even more important that the county maintain some financial viability. And this is a little off the subject, but I remember right after I was named, I was appointed county judge first. And I had a high-level Republican official say, your job is to make Bill White look bad. And I went, no, my job's to work with whoever the mayor is. Which is why I find it interesting that we now have the county judge getting involved in the mayor's race. I always stayed,
Exactly. And like I said, he was extremely, the best asset Bill White had is Ed Abbott as the county judge. Because he managed our hurricane situation. And I tell you what, if the new mayor wants to have one person whom they want to reach out, that would be Ed Abbott. That's what I would suggest. Because hurricane is going to come, disaster is going to happen, natural disaster is going to come. You need a person with experience how to deal with it.
No, Denise managed to avoid disasters. I don't know what she did.
She was playing hard.
Well, no, and then Ed let me muck around in the NRG after Harvey as part of the leadership team from Baker Ripley that ran that.
I enjoy your presence on the debate stage because of what I was kidding him
He
when
was
he first
funny,
came
too.
in.
He's like-
He's good. He's good. Everybody had a chance. But they didn't answer the question. It was good because you get to the point you want it, and your ideas are out there as well. Any chance that you might consider running for something again, or just after some point in time?
Look, I am 73. I may look young, thank you. But no, I hope that my candidacy, really this is what I believe, that my candidacy has inspired some people out there. And they think that, look, if MJ Khan can go into this arena and at least try, that I can try. And I can, hopefully they will have a better results for the election night than I did. So that's really my objective, my goal now, is to encourage people from the community to get involved in the civic life, in the public arena. Politics generally have a bad connotation with people, okay? And politics can be a very noble way of living your life, because you are in a position to impact tremendous amount of people in a positive manner.
Yes.
And I really hope that some people from the community get involved and get excited about getting involved. And the same thing I say about the Hispanic community and the black community. If Hispanic community start voting one day, this city will change for the better. And
you say that, and that's a good point, because time and time again, we had Andy Sirota went out and did a couple of really interesting stories about the Hispanic community and their efforts to get more of them to get out and vote. Your thoughts around this table about why that block of voting folk are not playing a bigger role than they are?
I mean, I can give you my. First of all, a lot of the new immigrants came from a society where your vote really doesn't matter. Even when you vote, you don't know who is going to be benefiting from that vote, okay? And the way the powers to be work is really disenfranchise people. So people are generally saying, oh, I'm not going to get involved in politics. Politics is not going to help. So that's a mindset we have. Second thing is, I think that I give you an example of the Muslim community, probably it's the same for the Hispanic community also, that the leadership is not really cohesive. And our politics, especially in the South Asian community, Muslim community, what we have seen is we give tremendous amount of money to all these politicians, and all we get in return is photo op. And people think that, okay, that's what politics is. That's not what politics is. So I think these are some of the factors, because there were really two very good Hispanic candidates in this year's for the mayors, Gallegos and Garcia. They both were very fine candidates, had very good, handle on the issues, but somehow they did not excite the Hispanic community. So what can I complain about the Muslim community not voting? Hispanic community didn't vote for them. But one thing we all need to really talk about, we need to have this position that, look, just because you're Hispanic, don't vote for Hispanic. If you're black, don't vote for blacks. If you're white, don't vote for white. And if you're a Muslim, just don't vote. Vote for the best candidate. That's how you're going to get the best result. And if you happen to be Hispanic, who is the best candidate, by all means, everybody should go and vote for them.
No, altruistically, that's a good point. But the reality of it is that Hispanics have not voted in blocks like blacks or African Americans. And I think that's been the difference. And you raised the question of Gene Green earlier. That was clearly an opportunity district drawn for a Hispanic, but they never elected a Hispanic. And also we saw Adrian Garcia in terms of the last mayor's race. And that's been one of the differences, I think, in terms of the black vote or in the brown vote. Right? And that's that history in terms of race has been a kind of rallying cry around that vote in terms of turnout. Now, it could change for the better, but that's just the reality of it. And blacks tend to vote.
I think ultimately, though, that's what will benefit the Latino community.
Yes.
The fact that they don't vote as a block.
Right.
And when they do begin to vote overwhelmingly, I think you're going to have to see that the black vote's going to have to start looking and going, wait a minute, maybe we ought to vote for the best candidate.
Yeah.
Look at the commercial that Senator Whitmire ran.
Right.
Who were the two elected officials who were saying, don't believe all these things they're saying about Senator Whitmire?
Right.
Sylvia Garcia and Carol Alvarado.
Congressperson,
Yeah.
Los Angeles is the example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your thoughts about Hispanic vote?
What, 40 some odd percent of the population of the city of Houston, and maybe 12% of the vote. I mean, it's not a lack of good candidates.
Yes.
It's a lack of engagement. Now, some of it is language barriers. Some of it is cultural. Some of it is the fact that we have a very large undocumented population that's not going to be.
But they voted for you, Hispanic vote you
Yes.
got good.
Yeah, but it was still a very low
Yeah.
percentage of the total Hispanic population. But I always had excellent Hispanic support. So, yes, to Ed's point, the willingness to vote for candidates that outside the community.
We have numbers to look at, but not new numbers.
Well, actually,
Still, do they have they not? We all keep checking. If anybody's
some new
watching and wonders what we're
you only
doing,
have 6 precincts out of 701.
Oh, wow.
So it's not enough to.
Okay, well,
Call it.
it's not enough. Okay, well, you're right. It's there's the.
It hasn't made a dramatic
No, it
change.
hasn't. It hasn't made.
you
You can look at those while we continue to talk.
one of the things about I mentioned it earlier, and you went past it, but who gets the support of the 15 candidates who aren't going to make it into the runoff? Is it John, or is it Sheila, or do you think that the other candidates are just going to
Look,
like quietly?
I don't want to
watch you
speak
fight
for
it out?
I don't want to speak for other candidates, but I guess you asked me a question. I think that it would be difficult for any one of them to get the support from, for example, people like Kaplan. Okay, I don't think that he will get involved. Some Garcia may get involved with the Sheila's campaign. It's possible. Other people, I really don't know, because when we were going around in the forums and all that, and we find out everything about each other. We know what his speech going to be, what his answer going to be, And so
You can give each other speeches.
from that discussion, really, none of the candidates who did not make it or are not going to make it were overly excited about the 2 front runners. Now, I have to say, media was excited about the front runners, and it's not a complaint, okay, because I don't believe. But look at the facts. I did not get a single coverage from any media outlet when I announced or during the course. And Chronicle did not even talk to me. I sent them, you're discussing the candidate for endorsement. At least talk to me, but they would not.
Wait, you didn't even get. You didn't have a chance to even have a conversation with the Chronicle before they made their endorsement.
No. And I tell you, they would put a story of people leaving the mayor's race. There are stories out there for people leaving the mayor's race, but none of the story. Nobody gave me and I don't know. I think that is up to the media. But now Channel 2 invited me to the debate, which I was very appreciative of. And but other than that, I think one of the thing, money somehow. I'm surprised that media thinks that somebody having a lot of money should be the important factor out there, and because of that, you should be talked about more.
I can't speak for our editorial decisions that are made on a day-to-day basis, but I know that polling data is something that the media looks at.
Well, there was just one poll.
Right.
Really, just one poll. I mean, it's after that poll, when you guys did the debate, and before that Fox News did the debate, which I was, part of that debate also, I was hoping that there will be some attention, but it was not. So it is what it is. We have to.
And you're right about that, because it is a subjective thing.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, is. I mean, it's the folks who make editorial decisions try to make sure that they are covering what they need to cover. But it is a subjective decision made on a day-to-day basis by individuals who are looking at the environment, figuring out, okay, which way do we go here? How do we do this? And the fact that you are representing the South Asian community and didn't get the kind of coverage that you would expect or should get is something that we should take under advisement about what we have done as a media about how we cover things.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I always thought that media is totally unbiased, okay, and they should give equal opportunity to everybody, okay, right? That's what I always assumed, let's say, and that should be the case, because look, you never know. Like, you know, this Garcia lady here, she was passionate about some issue, and why is it that she is not giving the best solution to some issues the city of Houston is facing? You know, you never know. The person with the least amount of money or least, performance on a poll has not the best idea about certain issue. You know, and that's what I think this should be. That at least give, you know, equal opportunity.
Well, you bring up some very good points. I hope that the folks who are in position to do something about it are listening, and here at this station anyway, about decisions that are made going forward, about who we cover and how we cover, and the way that we disseminate the kind of coverage we have. It's a finite number of people to do it, but that doesn't mean you can't do the.
One of the candidates told me, look, I put $1,200 just like everybody else, you know, to fight for the. Well,
It's expensive to get on the ballot, by the way.
Exactly. But no, look, but overall, I think this is great. One of the things I say to people, especially newcomers, new immigrants, we live in the greatest democracy, and we should cherish that. Don't think from back home that democracy doesn't matter. It matters here. Your vote counts. Your vote is important, and just come out and vote.
Well, we appreciate you coming here tonight. Thank you for your service to this community throughout the many years as a council member, and for putting yourself out there to run and try to represent this community again. We appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for including me with such an esteemed panel. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. They charge exorbitant rates, but that's okay. Thank you.
Cold pizza.
I know. It wasn't cold. I thought it was.
Yeah, no, it was cold.
Hey, we have. I understand that Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is speaking at her event right now. Can we go to that if she's still speaking? Thank you.
They're top notch. Give Top a very big hand. They walked 80,000 doors. 80,000. I'm so excited about them. One of the greatest honors, because you can see I've got some shorter ones in my life, is to be supported by the American Federation of Teachers and the Houston Federation of Teachers. Jackie, I don't know if you're here in the house. I know Retha is here, the whole extended family of educators. Give them a very big hand. And TWU, are you in the house? Transportation workers. Transportation workers, thank you so very much. And I call them Hope number 2. That's Cynthia Cole. I don't know if she's in. We are so grateful for all of your support and all of your workers. Don't let me leave any of my union friends out. I got AFT, American Federation Teachers. I got them, and the Houston Federation and Allied Workers. So that was it. The faith community, all my pastors in the house, faith community, faith community. Come on, Pastor Stevenson, Pastor Patrick, Pastor Devon. I saw Pastor Gilbert. Any imams in the house? All right. All right, Pastor Caldwell, it is a pleasure. And all other faiths from everywhere I was being welcomed. And the caucus. Thank you, caucus. I don't know where the members are. Thank you to the caucus. We are grateful to you. All right. So I hope I have not left all the volunteers. We are grateful for you. We're so grateful for you. I'm looking at all of your faces. We're so grateful to you. Now, campaign staff, Chairman Womack, I'm so grateful to you. Mr. Rushing, campaign staff, come to the front and wave your hands, please. Campaign volunteers and others, just come to the front, wave your hands. I already said you, Mr. Womack, so you can just turn around. But you are the man. There will be speaking time. This is going to be a long wait, so I'm going to fellowship with everybody. But turn around so they can see you, please. Yeah, turn around. Turn around. Ling Lu, turn around. Volunteers. There's Sonia all the way from San Antonio. She is all right. I love it. Come on, y'all are shy. Let me see y'all. It's going to be a long night. It looks like it. It looks like it. Let me thank Judge Rice. I don't know, he was bending down. Is Diane in the room? Judge Rice, thank you. He was taking care of all of Garden Oaks. Thank you so very much. All right, and give Diane and Garden Oaks, we love it. Now, I asked my team to come forward, but they're very shy, so I can't lay my eyes on her. But Amber, where are you? Oh, that's why I can't lay my eyes on you. That's why I can't lay, there she is, Amber Marston. Where's Lily? I don't know, she's incognito. All right, thank you all very much. I am not intending to be up very long unless my campaign staff gives me another note, because I think we are at the point where we're still listening. But let me say this, as we speak to Houstonians. I started this journey around the issue of people, making sure that whatever I said was to make Houston a livable city, to make Houston a city that responded to the needs of families and our children, to make sure that public safety was a priority, getting violent criminals off the street, but at the same time investing in people by creating more jobs, bringing more jobs in, working with our nonprofits and faith community on violence intervention, stopping gun violence, talking to young people who wanted more mental health services, responding to families who have been victims of domestic violence, sex trafficking, human trafficking, making sure that every corner of this city will be represented at the table of empowerment. And I always say the LGBTQ plus communities that have suffered discrimination would be in a city where it would never be tolerated. And to all of those who believe in individual rights, your reproductive rights would be protected in the city of Houston. And so I hope that however the outcome is, it will reflect that people bought into a positive agenda that would take this city into the future. And that future would be something for everyone. You are techie, it would be a tech corridor. If you're into research, it'd be the research capital of the Southwest or of the nation. And certainly, if you're into making music, writing books, producing movies, the entertainment complex is right here for you. And my granddaughter just said she's writing a book, and I'm getting her ready.
It's called The Fat Chicken.
All right, thank you so very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am very grateful. I can call a number of names. Thank you to the president of the National Bar Association, Mr. Calhoun. Thank you to Preston Middleton. Thank you so very much. I begin to call all the names. Handwriting is not the best. I have to lay eyes on people. Grant Malone, Pastor Dr. T. Grant Malone. I'm just not seeing Linda Brown, Pauline, Dr. Pauline, the African community, thank you so very much. The Southeast Asian, Pakistan Indians, I know you in the room, Indo-Americans, thank you. I'm Vietnamese, where are they?
We've been watching Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee at her headquarters. You can tell she's thanking a lot of the folk who have been a part of her campaign up to this point. We'll continue to watch this as well and have more about what her comments are on KPRC 2 coming up at 10 o'clock. We're going to be here for only 10 more minutes, so we have a lot to talk about. We'd hope to have a lot more in terms of the numbers, but over the number of years that we've done this, we know that that's just not going to be the case. So I'm glad that we've had a lot to talk about. We will have a lot to talk about as well. One of the things that we didn't talk about that we will now is that and obviously it looks like it's going to be this runoff between Whitmire and Jackson Lee, and then what happens when either one of them doesn't win? And of course, Congresswoman Jackson Lee very well can run for her seat again. We talked
Both of
about
them
that.
can. Actually, they did not have to resign to run, and their seats, there's a, 2-day window
the time that they.
The runoff to when they have to file for next year
course.
if they want to run for re-election.
And that sets up an interesting dynamic because, you know, the position once Congresswoman Jackson Lee said, I'm getting in, Amanda Edwards got out and then decided to run for that congressional seat.
District, right.
And so that sets up a little bit of thing. What are your thoughts? Any early indications about how that would set up? Or is it too early to tell?
Well, Amanda says that she's in for the long haul, and I don't think she's getting out. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic. And if you have just seen some of the campaigning, she's been out there. She's out meeting people. She has a real robust social media presence. So it's going to be interesting if Sheila runs against Amanda. And I think Amanda, she may fare better than what we saw when she ran for U.S. Senate. Right.
So when we look at that dynamic, we just saw Congresswoman Jackson Lee naming all of these people that are supporting her. Those same people are likely to maybe take their support with her to the congressional seat because that's where she has that traditional support. You think that's a possibility? Or is that what makes it so interesting on what will happen in terms of that support? Because that support is altogether different than who might vote for her.
Yeah, but of course she has a base. However, I think Amanda could appeal to a different crowd, for example, in terms of what we call the gens or millennials. And that's, I know they hadn't been turning out, but, you know, again, we started at the top of this conversation, talk about voter turnout and what could drive people. So, you know, we could pivot. But.
Well, I guess I have two observations about that. Number one, it will be in a presidential election year.
Yes,
You're talking about a turnout that will be a lot larger than what we've seen today. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, if you just drive east of downtown in a lot of what is currently Sheila Jackson Lee's congressional district, all these new townhomes, all these new upscale apartments and even big subdivisions almost are in that district now. Who are those people? They're not necessarily tied to voting for a longtime incumbent. And I've dealt with Amanda Edwards. She's very bright. She presents well. I think it would be very interesting, and I think an incumbent would have to go, do I really want to get back in this or not? Or do I just want to say, okay, I've served my time?
Then, by the way, this is speculation that's totally based upon the idea that perhaps she might not win the runoff.
Well, but if
no
John Whitmire doesn't win, he too can go back and run for his seat. And he has at least 3 people. Molly Cook ran against him the last time and gave him a surprisingly stout race.
And who just ran the Prop B campaign.
Todd Litton.
And Jarvis Johnson.
Jarvis Johnson.
Right.
And then there's a fourth candidate too. So you've got an interesting field already for his seat.
There's a lot going on here. We are going to be done here in 6 minutes. So I want to thank you for being with us so far. We've got more to talk about. I want to put some numbers up, if we can, in the booth there. We left off with the numbers for mayor haven't changed at all, and we can run through those very quickly here and run through some of the council seats as well. But I want you to get prepared for me the numbers relating to the props really quickly, because we haven't done that in a bit, and so we know that these numbers that we have in front of us now in terms of the position 1, Melanie Miles, none of these have changed. We're going to be seeing this throughout the evening. By the time we go to bed tonight, these numbers may not have changed, quite frankly, depending on how early you go to bed. But these are the numbers that came in right off the bat, and they haven't changed very much. Twyla Carter with 1% over Richard Cantu for that position 3. These at-large positions are ones where are being vacated by people who've been term limited. At-large 4, Dr. Plummer still at 51%. At-large 5, Sally Alcorn, 63% likely not to have any problems going forward. These are going to hold up going forward here. The other council races, they're similar in some ways. Tarsha Jackson, the incumbent with a big margin, will avoid a runoff in all likelihood unless something really drastic were to take place. And those experts around the table will say that's not going to happen. Same thing true for District C and Abby Kamen, with that 74% number not to be overtaken in that district as well. District D, close right now with Dr. Carolyn Evans-Shabazz with 51%. As we go down the list there, District E, with this initial number, 58 to 42%, Fred Flickinger and Lamont Dixon. And those folks are very much involved in Republican politics in that area. District G, Mary Ann Huffman, we were very interested in this number. And Judge Emmett, you noticed something on one of the precincts. Talk about that in terms of the turnout that you noticed.
Well, since we've had 6 precincts report, one of them happened to be in that district, and Mary Ann Huffman got 20 votes compared to Busby's 6. And the other candidate got 5, remarkably. So Election Day may make sure that Mary Ann Huffman pulls that without a runoff, which I think would be a surprise to
Tony?
Well, certainly. But to others, there was some early polling that showed him winning.
Really?
And I think
And he was coming off the high of the Paxton
impeachment thing.
But I think a lot of people, like I said earlier, thought, no, we're not so sure that was the right side to be on that.
Mario Castillo at the District H district, and looks like he is doing very well. May, in fact, before all said and done, may end up going at 50%. You never know between now. District I, Robert Gallegos is term limited. Joaquin Martinez, who worked in his district office, is poised to go ahead and win that. Edward Pollard, District J, also an incumbent, 66% will avoid a runoff, it appears. And then Martha Castex Tatum, unopposed. In the few minutes we have left here, your analysis on what we've been seeing tonight, and thank you so much, Mayor Parker. I know you've been very busy doing a lot of different things. I'm glad that your plans changed that allow you to be a part of this tonight. Your thought about what we've seen tonight and how it shapes what's going to be going on in the city of Houston going forward.
Well, I'm still waiting for the surprise that Ed was hoping for in these results, because what I see is exactly what we expected, certainly in the mayor's race, but the other races as well. I don't really see any surprises there. And I just keep going back to this is a low voter turnout, and there will be an even lower turnout probably in the runoff, and it gives disproportionate power to the people who do decide to show up.
The only thing I'd comment on, the low turnout's just terrible, but somebody like Dr. Adams will have to do an analysis. When you have the runoff, will the mayor's race drive the turnout, or will some of these district races that are in runoffs affect the mayor's race?
Good point.
Because depending on what part of the city they're in, that remains to be seen. But I think, there's no big surprise. I do think the Mary Ann Huffman potentially winning without a runoff against Tony Busby, and it's not done yet, but that would be an interesting signal.
Final thought?
I want to go back, and I think the polling in terms of the mayor's race was close. And my good friend Jim Granado and his team over at the Hobby School, I think they were kind of close in their predictions in terms of what would happen in the mayor's race.
Well, I want to thank you all for being a part of this roundup. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your expertise. We appreciate your knowledge. And I think the viewers who tuned into KPRC 2 Plus live stream have benefited from this. We look forward to doing this again sometime in the near future. We know that coming up on KPRC 2 on air at 10 o'clock, we'll have the latest. Look forward to seeing some of the latest numbers then. In the meantime, we leave you with an opportunity to look at what numbers we do have between now and the time we go on the air at 10 o'clock. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for voting. Thank you for caring. We'll see you next time.